on the call as well. And Nicole Guest, who is our business development manager at Pure Bookkeeping, is joining us today as well. How are you, Nicole? Are you pumped?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I've been so busy that normally I can never get on these webinars. So I was glad that I had an hour free to come on and join. So yeah, very excited.
Yeah, and it's a great conversation or title for you as well, because you do a lot of our strategy calls with prospective bookkeepers or prospective licensees, bookkeepers, about strategies that they can use to systemize their business, scale their business, and make sure that they are on target to build the business that they want to build. So perhaps you could tell us a little bit about, those strategy calls that you do, like in terms of this topic that we're talking about, the resolutions, like, things that you were hearing from bookkeepers, what they're experiencing, where they're stuck, and how you help them, what you talk about to, build in some plans and some goals for themselves.
So look, I think that one thing that's really apparent to me is that everyone's business goal is different. So it's really important to, ask the right questions and listen to people and actually understand what their business goals are. Some people are really in that phase where they want to grow $1 million business, and that's what they're focused on, is growth and building their business. Other people actually just want to be able to scale their business so they can pull back the number of hours that they're working. Other people that I speak to, are really happy where their business is at, but, are looking to retire in 3 years' time. So really want to get their business systemized so they can sell it for a lump sum, and we've even got licensees or people that need that have done their bookkeeping business. It's a good business, it's a profitable business for them, but want to actually do other things in their life and look at other sort of passions and other career goals. So but can't actually walk away from their business because it's earning them too much revenue and they can't walk away from that revenue. So it's really about understanding what that actual person wants from their business. And I think a lot of people don't take the time to actually sit down and go, what is my goal? What do I want? Do I want to work 3 days a week? Do I want to work full time? Do I want to get my business ready for sale? Do I want to step back and do more of an business advisory role and a top level role of growing my business and managing it from a top level rather than doing the everyday? Some are just happy the way that they are, working the days that they work and doing the work that they do, but want to know that they've got compliance safety checks in place. That's what keeps them awake at night. And that is one of the questions that I ask is, what is your goal? Not even just a monetary goal, but what is your life goal for your business? And what keeps you awake at night? Because if the same things are keeping you awake at night and you're not doing anything to change them, they're going to keep keeping you awake at night. So I have some really interesting conversations with people. And I suppose what's fulfilling for me about this role is that a lot of people don't realize that you can scale your business to a point where you can try and achieve whatever goals they are, whether they're working life balance goals, whether they're revenue goals, whether they're how to exit from your business and get a lump sum, So I suppose my advice to anyone on this call is to really think about what is your goal? What would make you happy? What's your utopia? What do you want from your business? Not what does your business want from you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's a great question we can actually ask the audience right now. So whether you want to jump off mute and let us know what your goal for your business is, or pop it into the chat, and if you're on Facebook Live, pop it into the comments in there. Who it was somebody who would like to jump off mute and share what their business goal is? Melinda, you're smiling. Did you want to jump off mute?
I'm only fairly new here, and it's really just been for us probably the last month that we've changed our entire mindset where we thought, oh, well, it's, happy enough just to have a job for the two of us and potter along, and then not even actually ever thinking about a big firm or like a big practice or a big business, and certainly not thinking about it in terms of having an asset. And when we started changing the mindset, it was kind of like, wow, really? Okay. So we're now sort of putting together goals, as in, in a couple of years' time, scale back for a couple of days a week, and then keep going up until the point where either we have somebody buy in or we sell it completely. And so that might be like a 10-year goal for us, but maybe it could be a 5-year goal for us. So we're still new to setting a few goals like that, and we're just starting to implement, or changing things over, changing all folders over for our clients and so on. So that'll take a bit of time, but yeah, it's good. It's great having putting those ideas on a paper and actually thinking that there is alternatives, or there's options, or there's much more potential in here than there actually was, than what we had even thought of. Never thought of it. So
yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. And that's a really good example of, like, a lot of bookkeepers, and me for myself as well, when I had my bookkeeping business, it's putting it down on paper and allowing yourself to do that and think it through. And I guess that's one thing, Sharon, we were going to mention, is around the game plan. So once you've got your business goal or an idea where you want to head to, is setting up that game plan to be able to achieve that. And, this is where, we're looking at the holistic, the big picture, the game plan, and then we'll talk about breaking that down into what are these resolutions that we can choose today to help us get through to that game plan. So do you want to talk through about the game plan?
Yeah, first of all, I've got to say, Melinda, thank you for sharing what you just shared. That's a big thing, because the biggest thing most people can't articulate that I've spoken to across all different sorts of businesses, not just bookkeepers, is exactly what came out of your mouth then, of like, okay, well, we saw the opportunity and now we're kind of thinking bigger picture, and we can see what the opportunity is. And, you've dared to go through that fear, if you like, to go, well, maybe we can do this. Maybe, we can step back a couple of days a week in the future. And this is something that we have actual control over. So congratulations for getting that out, because that's like the very first step that most people have a tricky time with, including myself. Like, I'm sort of one that, I've got to push myself sometimes. I think you look at other people to think that have, got a business plan and they're all set up and they've got team, and you think, God, that must have just happened for them, or they didn't have to climb the hill that I've climbed. But everyone has to climb some sort of hill. It's just like you got to put your backpack on and get up that hill. And I think self-doubt, we were talking about before, self-doubt is what's going to stop a lot of people from taking that step, because I think
dare I dream.
Say it again.
Dare I dream.
That's it. That's exactly it. And it's, I think there's a level of self-awareness that we have when we think about, okay, well, this is what I want to achieve. I want to go from, here's your business.
That's my partner, Neil.
Neil, there you go.
Hi,
Neil. Neil comes in on a Facebook Live. I like that.
Well, we do the business together. So.
That's awesome. I love it.
It's
awesome.
our dream.
Yeah, that's good. So I think it's really identifying, okay, I want to scale my business from 150 to 200, 500, $1 million. To have the self-awareness of, I'm here and I can get there, but what is my obstacles, or what are my fears that I have to conquer to achieve that? That in itself is so courageous to go, it's just a thing, right? Like, fear is just a thing, and it's finding out, okay, well, identifying, okay, well, what is my fear? Is it my fear of, some people have a fear of success, or is it a fear of, like, if I've got a team, like, how do I lead that team? Or if I haven't got a system, if I haven't got a system, how do I manage all that? Like, and what system would I get to work in with my workflow, if I've got Asana or Carbon or whatever? So there's all these questions. Just go, I'll just put all that in the too hard basket And I'll do what I did in the last financial year, again, this financial year, because I'm not, it feels like too big of a hill to climb to dive into each of those areas. And I reckon if we put our finger in and wiggle it around in each of those little questions that we might have, the hill is actually a mound. It's not that big. And what I think is beautiful is being part of a group like Pure Bookkeeping. Definitely for me, when I was scaling the business to black belt, it was the association. It's that, like, oh, well, you know, Melinda's decided to grow her business with her husband, and Lisa's decided to grow her business, and Kim's decided to grow her business, and I'm there watching them do that. Well, who am I to not do that? Who am I not to honor my dreams to do that? So then it's just figuring out the path to get there. And I think it's really around the self-doubt. You've got to really get into that self-doubt and figure out what your own individual stops are, and then reach out to someone that you can say, I want to be just like her. I want to do what she or he is doing. I wonder what they've done. And I mean, you know, we're lucky enough to have Katrina as a CEO who's scaled a business. Deb's obviously designed the system with Pure Bookkeeping. I've scaled a bookkeeping business beyond black belt. I mean, there's heaps of examples in Pure Bookkeeping that have taken that system and scaled a business. And with all the respect in the world, like, Katrina's not special, I'm not special, Deb's not special. We just decided to put our backpacks on and hike that hill. And my belief is that anyone that makes the decision to do that can do it. You're just going to have a game plan to do it.
Yeah, that's right. And you'd said before about, you know, creating those actions to push you past those self-doubt. You might have those self-doubt feelings, but having something that they are that does push you to the next stage, you know, whatever that might be. If it's marketing, like Deb didn't like to do marketing, so she set a system in place to be able to push herself to do the marketing. So if it's, you know, leading a team or putting a team on, and it's all too hard and self-doubt, I don't know if I have money, I don't know if I'm a good leader, I don't know if I can, you know, if I've got the management, the systems in place to put a staff member on, all of those things are like you're doubting whether it can happen. Just pushing, like creating the activity, the actions to do to be able to find out what those solutions are and keep moving forward, and, you know, moving past that self-doubt, or, you know, making the self-doubt become a lie, really.
Yeah, good point.
Nicole, do you find when you're talking to bookkeepers that self-doubt is something that, you know, that they're experiencing before they can actually, you know, develop their business or, you know, move forward?
Absolutely. Self-doubt, confidence. And I think what I sort of notice when I speak to people is that, you know, everyone's experienced, they know what they're doing, and, you know, they're 80% there. And what's really sad is that 20% of self-doubt actually is what's holding them back. So they're sort of like, well, I'm 80% sure I can do this, but can I not? And sometimes all they need is to have a conversation with someone, reach out to someone, or understand the tools that are available to them to go, actually, you know what, I can do this. And then that 20% disappears. And I suppose that's what I find the saddest thing is that, you know, people are 80% there, but it's that 20% that's pulling them back. And once they get over that little hurdle, the 20% of self-doubt just disappears.
Yeah, it's just like that action, isn't it? And finding associating yourself with a group of people that are successful, and people that in the systems or you know, groups, forums, whatever it is that can push you forward. You are learning from a lot of these other people that are doing it successfully, and just associating with them and following them, you know, finding out how they're doing it, and creating those actions that that replicate what the success that they're doing.
Absolutely. And I think that, typically bookkeeping businesses, they're sole traders. So you've set it up, you only know what you know. And by having a group or a community, it actually exposes you to other things. Otherwise, you're still on that track that you've set for yourself, and you can't take the blinkers off to have a look around. And I think that also is a really big contributor, being part of a group, seeing what other people are doing, and then questioning whether I can do this a better way, or what can I do now? I'm seeing the success stories, maybe now it's me to pull up my socks and try and do things differently. But you don't know what you don't know, so how are you going to do it?
Yeah, exactly. So now that we are identifying what our goal is for our business, then how do we put those, where do we get those resolutions from? So we want to kickstart our business now so that we don't repeat the same, problems or issues, challenges, roadblocks that we had in the past year. We want to do something different in the coming year. So it is identifying, for me, it's identifying what's the biggest pain point for yourself at the moment. Is it your systems that are letting you down, that you can't scale because everything is in your head and you need to get it all out? So, that is one thing. Maybe it's you don't have the right clients. So maybe you do need to work on your ideal clients. Maybe it is the staff member. You do need to put a staff member on. So what is the biggest pain point for yourselves that you need to work on? That's going to give you the biggest bang for the buck. And then what are the steps that we need to put in place for that? So does anybody want to come off mute and talk about what their challenges are at the moment? What's your biggest pain point that they want to change? They want to create some resolutions to change, to move forward. Lisa or Kim, I can see your faces.
I'll speak. I think my biggest barrier is most definitely clients, and I'm sure it's the same for a lot of other people as well. I guess my lack of confidence probably comes across a lot during those initial client meetings. So I can't seem to, well, first up, it's hard to get leads in the first place. And then when I do have a lead, it kind of falls over right at that very first call. So I guess that's my my barrier there.
Okay, so you need to work on attracting clients, and then the follow through or the follow up with, turning them over. Sharon, have you got some ideas, because you were the queen for, putting clients on for your bookkeeping business?
Yeah, I do. And good on you, Kim, for sharing that, because I see what Jacqueline says. Yes, they are special. They are amazing. And yes, they are. That's for sure, Jacqueline. We're very lucky to be surrounded by some very inspirational people in pure bookkeeping. But I actually think that, I was just having this conversation before with somebody at my house. It's like we all think our fear and our little stops are our little dirty secret that no one else knows. And guess what? We've all got the same dirty little secret that, I had trouble too. I remember the first time when I went out, I talked about my meetings with accountants, and because I'm not a bookkeeper, I don't know if all of you know that here, I'm not a bookkeeper, and I scaled a bookkeeping business, and I'm dreadfully fearful. I talked to Katrina about how fearful I am talking about numbers. Whenever we do webinars or anything and we've got to figure out some sort of numbers, I get so scared. So imagine trying to sell bookkeeping. It's like, well, let's try and sell bookkeeping and not talk about numbers. So that was the biggest fear for me. And you know what? Everyone's got their own little thing that they're fearful of. It's a numbers game, Kim. And it's just a matter of getting out there over and over. And what happens by default, and this is the beautiful thing about having a business, and especially the vehicle of a bookkeeping business is the best, because you're able to take this and scale it to whatever level you want. We've got people that you can use offshore, you can hire people locally through, Pure Bookkeeping has got the most amazing HR system that I use to build our business. But I think you've got all the resources there. It's just a matter of identifying what your stops are, where you're resisting, and just keep getting out there. And the most beautiful thing about this whole process is that through pushing yourself out there in your business, you actually build your own self-worth and confidence around every other area of your life. So when you think about parenting and relationships and community work and stuff like that, you know, quite often, you know, you see people in your community stand up and talk about, you know, let's save the koalas here and do this. It's like those people, they had to learn that skill of getting up and presenting in front of people and having a voice through this business. It's like a vehicle to help you have a voice for a whole bunch of different things. And leadership is not just with your business. Leadership is with your kids and with your, you know, in your community and all around. I mean, I think it's our kind of obligation to make sure that we have a voice and that we're able to share what we think. And if you can build that through building your business, I think it's a really, really powerful thing. And identifying what it is. So you sort of say that you're having trouble with those meetings. You know, I had so much trouble with accountants meetings. I set a goal for booking 5 a week. And sometimes I'd have to call 60 to 80 accountants a week to book those appointments, and your fear almost disappears in a week, because I've just talked to so many accountants that after a while it's like, okay, well, I kind of know the drill now. So it kind of dissipates the fear. And they say fear will steal more dreams than lack of skills ever will. So to me, if we're looking at scaling our businesses and growing it to where we want it, it's not another Xero certification or another certificate that's going to help you grow it, because you can hire that. I mean, I'm not a bookkeeper. I hired all those skills. It's the leadership skills that are going to help you. It's reading, you know, Think and Grow Rich and Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and all of that stuff that helps you with leadership skills and confidence and getting out there. That's what's going to really help you build the resilience around conquering the fear. And I think that's identifying what your biggest fear and your biggest stop is, and really going deep into that and going, righto, what do I need to do with this? And, you know, while you're part of groups like this, there's so many people you can tap into. I mean, the energy of Nicole is just amazing. I mean, having a chat with her, because when you're in, I used to do Nicole's job. When you're talking to people back to back every day, and you're talking to people at all different levels of success in the bookkeeping world, I mean, the stories you have in your head around the different people. And I was going to say before when you were talking, Nicole, I reckon it's really tricky when there's so many charlatans out there. Like, how many things that come through on Facebook? It's like, oh, you're going to be a millionaire overnight. You're going to do this. And if you just do this with Amazon and you do that, and you go, is that real? Are people really doing that? And I reckon somehow we get this melded in with all of those sort of stories of like, is it really people that have gone to black belt? Is it really bookkeepers that have gone from one, just them, and built it with a team of bookkeepers and scaled their businesses? And the answer is yes. You're looking at a couple now, and that's not a trick. It's just, it starts with a plan. And that's why this is such a pertinent conversation at the beginning of the financial year. And I don't care if you put it on the back of a beer box, like write out 3 or 4 things that you want to achieve this year, and put next to it your biggest fear against it. So you want to build a team of 3 people this year and build it to 200, 300,000. Right next to it your biggest fear, and put some sort of solution next to that fear. It might be to have a conversation with Nicole, or it might be to have a conversation with Katrina or me, or it might mean to read a book that goes straight into that fear. So I reckon the key is around conquering the fear, not the skill around, you know, the actual bookkeeping stuff. Because while you've got businesses that like pure bookkeeping that you can systemize your business, I mean, it's really tricky to scale a business that's not systemized. And I mean, while you've got access to things like that, I think most people here have a pure bookkeeping license. So, you know, you've got access to that, implement it, use it. I mean, part of my program, that the first 3 months you've got to implement the pure bookkeeping system, because that without that foundation, it's really hard to scale. And that helps you with the confidence too. So, you know, it's baby steps. Steve Jobs said you can only connect the dots backwards. You can't sort of see the future. You can say, oh, it's when I joined pure bookkeeping that things started changing, and I could start connecting with all these people, and I could start seeing how I can make this a reality. Gosh, I talk a lot. Sorry, Katrina.
One thing I just wanted to add, and especially to you, Kim, is that fear is real, and a lot of people go, oh, I'm not very good at sales, I'm not very good at, and they put it on themselves, and it is actually it's a real fear. And what I want to sort of say to you, it's not you, it's the fear. And the reason why I say this is that I'm in sales. I'm an extrovert, you know, I've been in sales my whole life, you know, but the first sales call I did for Pure Bookkeeping, ask Katrina, I was having a heart attack. I was shaking in my boots. My heart was going like this, you know, and for someone who's done sales their whole life, you know, when you do something new or out of your comfort zone, that fear is very real. And I think that people get mixed up with their personality and with the fear. So they go, I can't do this. I'm not really good at having those conversations, blah, blah, blah. But it's actually not you. You can be the most extroverted person. You can have, you know the ins and outs of sales. You could have been doing this your whole life like me, but those first ones are always scary. They are, no matter who you are. And I suppose my advice is really coming back to what Sharon was saying, is that, you know, set yourself goals. And just, you know, just to give you an idea, my goal is to have 50 meetings a week, just so I can get those numbers, you know, to do 50 strategy sessions a week. And, you know, yes, that first week was tough. I was shaking. Again, I come from a finance, wealth management background, not a bookkeeping background. I like talking numbers, but you know, I'm definitely not an experienced bookkeeper, and having those conversations were really scary at the beginning. Whereas now, you know, I've done so many of them, I can do them with my eyes closed. I can actually do a strategy session with someone and straight away pick what they need, because I've had so much practice in it, and actually have confidence that I could probably start my own bookkeeping business myself.
You so could. Have we got a deal for you, Nicole?
No. I'm happy doing what I'm doing.
I totally agree. You can actually start a business and not be a bookkeeper. You put the right people on and the systems in there, and you're entrepreneurial, and that's who you could also be attracting to sell your business to, which is one of the, you know, the people that I was looking for when selling my business. All you need is an entrepreneur. It could be a bookkeeper, an accountant, just somebody that has the right, you know, the sales and the, you know, maybe the extrovert, or just somebody just sees the opportunity. Because once the system's in place and the staff are doing all the work, you don't actually need to be the bookkeeper or, you know, to be leading the team. You put a manager on, operations manager, and you have somebody that's, you know, can just find extra services, can be bolt-ons to the actual bookkeeping business. So, you know, it opens up your idea of who you can sell it to, and the business that you need to create to be able to put it into that position, to be able to be ready to be sold to anybody, not just take your bookkeeping hat off and put it on to the next person. It's being, you know, creating that entity that can be moved over to another entrepreneur.
When Kim, when you were saying about, you know, going into a meeting, etc., I think the thing that works for me, and yeah, there's differences when we're different levels, and how much experience we've had, and like, we've got kids, we've got grandkids, we've been doing things for a long time. But I think the thing that shines through for us is that they know that, and I tell them that we just want to make sure everything's right. We want to look after your numbers, your business, want to make sure you can get in there, you can see your business, you know, and I think that sort of sometimes comes through as well. If you love what you're doing, and if you can express that through the client meeting, it doesn't matter how nervous you are. I'm always the same. I get, I talk too much sometimes. But they get the fact that I just love it. I want to make sure that you're looked after and everything. And I think that comes through, because stuff can be learned, but not the sincerity and really wanting to make sure that they're looked after. I think they get that, and that sometimes can help with maybe feeling nervous, saying, oh, I'm a little bit nervous, you know, I get that out up front, you know, and then they go, oh, it's okay, no worries, you know, and so then you sort of go, okay, gone through that.
Yeah,
I think
great
that's
comment. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, if you have that as a person as well, you know, and I say this all the time, I'll probably said it to you, Melinda, on our sales call, but I'm not a salesy person. I'm not going to, you know, make you sign up, put pressure on you to sign up. And where I get the best, you know, gratification in my job is actually helping people. If they sign up, that's great. But what I love doing is helping people. And I think that at the end of the day, if that's what you're doing, if you're helping businesses and helping prospects or clients, and that's your main passion, it really comes across. And then the sale then automatically follows. You shouldn't have to do a hard sell to anyone, you know. You should be there to help them. You should help them see what they need, you know. Years of working in banking and finance, you know, I used to always say on my ANZ days, I'm not going to sell insurance to a 99-year-old woman, you know, I'm just not going to do it. And sometimes sales and onboarding can get really mixed up between what's right for the person. And I think that, you know, to be able to sleep at night well, you need to know that whatever you're selling is actually going to enhance that person's business. And I think that if you have that in mind, and if you go out there with the passion to help businesses, the sales will just follow.
Yeah, that's really great points. And Robin's also mentioned that about, she asks in the client meeting, Robin asks questions and let them talk about themselves. So the first part of your sales call, if you like, is talking about the client, about their business, and they start feeling comfortable in the meeting about talking about that. And, you know, asking them, you know, some logistical stuff around their bookkeeping, but also, you know, why they got into business and, you know, what they are wanting out of their business, and then talking about what their pain points are. And that leads into you having a solution for them. So it's a, you know, different conversation. We're actually doing this in our pricing program at the moment, Sharon. We're exactly talking, you know, this scripting around the client meetings as well. So
yeah, and I think it's also important to remember that you're enough. It's like, you know, when you think about your personal brand, and personal brand is just essentially you. And what I love about this, and I had a personal branding coach for 12 months, 3 years ago. I was saying to Katrina this morning, everything she taught me, darn well's coming to fruition. Like, it's amazing when you think about, she was always like, she really put a mirror up to me and said, okay, so these are your skills. This is what you're good at. I'm like, really? And I didn't really get it then. So me being me, because, you know, we always think we have to be something different, and I'm no different. And I always thinking like, I need to be this, I need to be that, no, whatever. She's going, no, like, you just being you is fine. That's cool. And what happens with that is, by default, when you're actually just you attract people that like you for you. And so then you've got a business full of clients that like you for you. And then that reinforces that you're okay and the world's okay. So then it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy then, because then you're surrounded by people that like think that you're cool because they've been attracted to you because you've just been you. And I think we always think, and I'll give you an example, like when I first started meeting accountants, I just thought that I had to be something different. And I made myself, because I knew I wanted to scale the bookkeeping business, and I made myself sit in front of them, and I was a bumbling mess. Like, I couldn't even, like, I don't know, when I get nervous, I sort of like not speak very clearly. And because I was so worried that I'd be dragged into a bookkeeping conversation, hello, I'm selling bookkeeping, I just got so darn nervous. And I actually think, and I've said this before on these sort of live Facebook live meetings, I actually felt like they felt a bit sorry for me. And because of that, because I was so authentically wanting to do a good job, they could see that. It's like, you know, like, poor woman, just give her a go. And it just, like, I think that's when I started thinking, oh, okay, so people are ultimately really, you know, that Carol Dweck book, talking about people that, you know, most people are really good people, like they want to help. And if you've got a service and you're a good bookkeeper, most people, like if, you know, accountants are in the same industry, business owners that need a bookkeeper, if you're sitting in front of them, it's pretty likely that, you know, you're a bookkeeper, they're a business, they need a bookkeeper. It's pretty likely they're going to buy from you no matter what comes out of your mouth. They're really buying you. They know that you wouldn't be sitting there if you didn't have the skills. So, and if you bumble, that's okay. I mean, I bumbled my way to black belt. I mean, honestly, and I was reading, there's this thing about luck, and there's research that's been done on luck, and you look at people and you think, oh, they're just lucky. They've built their business because they're just lucky. And there's this research that's been done on luck, that apparently people that are considered lucky and that achieve things are more extroverted. And the way that we perceive extroverts is that they're chatty and they're like, you know, they've got all the gift of the gab and they can do that. But, you know, just by smiling at somebody and making eye contact, that starts a feeling of connection with people. So it's all these little things that you can do. You don't have to be anyone that you're not. There's just little skills that you can introduce by, you know, when you're out walking, and, you know, most people put their head down or don't make eye contact when you go past somebody. Like I'm from the country, so I'm embarrassing. I always say, good morning, how are you? Like, and I've just done that because I am from the country and there wasn't many people where I grew up. Our closest neighbours are like 30k away. So any new people around, I was like, hi, somebody to talk to. So I think just even practicing that when you're out walking, look people in the eye and smile, and then, yeah, maybe say hi. And I think just being able to connect in that way. And so basically what they're saying is, the studies say more extroverts get themselves in front of more people and groups and things like that. So while you're building businesses, like I always say, I talk about automatic and manual. So something that might be quite automatic for me is getting out there and talking to people. It may be manual for you. So you go, okay, well, to build this business, I might have to put it into manual a bit and get out there and make myself meet people. And just through that, you're building that skill, and it becomes easier and easier the more you get out there.
And you might want to look at the KPI spreadsheet too, Kim, and set yourself some KPIs. So it might be that you are wanting to meet with, you know, one new client a week, or one new accountant a week. So setting yourself some metrics to it, and you know, succeeding in that, and it's pushing you out of your comfort zone to do that. And it might be more than one a week. You might be doing, you know, 3 a week, whatever it is. And networking events, it could be at least 1 a month or 2 a month. Setting a KPI and pushing yourself to go, okay, well, I've got to, you know, and if you join the accountability sessions with Jacqueline, which I'm not sure if you're in the Jacqueline's group, she can keep you accountable to do that as well. If you set yourself to 2 networking meetings a month, or, you know, 1 new client a week, or, you know, getting out there, you can keep that as one of your KPIs in those sessions as well. So it's a good way of pushing yourself and being celebrated with a group of other people as well. So it's, yeah, awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Would somebody else like to jump off mute and talk about what their resolutions might be for this coming year? So we've talked a bit about, you know, the fear and your game plan. Do you have some resolutions planned already for this year?
Or even just something that might be maybe in the back of your mind of thinking, oh, I would like that, but I don't know if I could put that out there. But by putting it out there, we can talk about it to say, all right, so if it is that you want to hire somebody, you haven't hired a team member yet, what is it? So yeah, I would like to do that, but I'm not sure what the first step is with that. So anything like that we can talk about to help you with that, please feel free to share.
Yeah. Elisa, do you have resolutions for this year? I know you're in the accountability session, so you must have plans. So, you know, you might not have thought about some resolutions, but maybe it's a good time to start talking about them, thinking.
Yeah, I've been on hourly rates, and been sort of, that's one big thing I want to do. ideally hoping to do for the start of the financial year, but a few setbacks with power outages and other things. But that's probably one thing I want to do. And I'm like Kim, where I haven't got a huge amount of clients, but I mean, I've got 6, so, you know, I've got enough work for myself. So I'm not sort of complaining, but it's, yeah, for me, it's just, I suppose, just building the business up, because I haven't been in business that long myself. Yeah, so for me, it's just that, yeah, just keep building it up.
Yeah,
and yeah,
okay.
PBS, it's been great to learn all that. So
Yeah.
get a lot out of it.
Yeah. Sharon, have you got some advice for Lisa to get off hourly to fix? Because this was actually something that we were doing in our program as well.
Yeah, well, the first thing I do is set a goal of what you want to achieve and by when, and that kind of gets a bit of a timeline then. So if you say in this next financial year, if you've got, and literally just grab a piece of paper, like a blank piece of paper, maybe do it now, blank piece of paper, and then this is your financial year goals, and just like maybe aim for 3 to 5 initially. So even after this call, write down, okay, well, what are 3 to 5 goals that I want to achieve this year? And I would encourage you, I mean, fantastic that you've got 6 clients, you've just started out in business, which is really good. And I think, Kim, you're the same, you've just started out. So it's actually saying, all right, so it's quite achievable to say like 100 grand for this next financial year, right? So if you say, all right, at the top, $100,000. So what is that? If I work backwards, what do I need to do in the next 3 months towards that? Because we always like we put those goals out there and go, oh, that's what I want to achieve. But what would you need to do in the next 3 months to achieve that? And maybe going on to fixed or value pricing might be one of the goals that you have in the next 3 months. So then where do you go if you want to do that? So is it fixed or value? So it's like, okay, well, maybe start having a think about what that is. Is it fixed or value? And then maybe you might want to say, well, what's the first step? So maybe education, like what's the education that you can do towards value pricing, for instance? So the guru in value pricing is Ron Baker and Mark Wickersham. So this book here is like a Bible, Value Pricing by Ron Baker. So, I mean, I've got little sticky things through there. I mean, start getting your head into that space of like, okay, well, I want to offer value pricing. What is that? Ron Baker says it's an art. Right. So it's not, you can't quantify it really. It's kind of like, you know, you've got to step into it. It's one client at a time. You're not going to be able to do all your 6 clients at once on value pricing. And maybe you try the next client that you talk to, maybe you start testing that out on it. So the next quarter of what you will do towards introducing value pricing into your firm. And I think the first thing is to get familiar with it. Start watching. I mean, Katrina, I still don't know how you scored Ron Baker as one of the guest speakers on the book.
We have the best marketing team.
He is. Seriously, this guy is a legend. And he was on the book club. Like, I couldn't believe it. That's so good. So there's a whole bunch. I think there's 3 sessions on 2 or 3. So I'd watch one of those. I mean, that's on pure bookkeeping and just listen to his thinking around value pricing. The guy's a legend. And then, you know, you just got to start testing it out and seeing what that's like for yourself and start seeing, you know, it's an art. You're not going to get it right straight away and start sort of developing that for yourself. But to make the first step in the next 3 months, and it may be your first thing in the next 3 months is buying Ron Baker's or watching one of those book club videos on Ron Baker. So when you think about the next 12 months and, you know, by the end of the financial year, you're going to have all your clients on value pricing, that starts with actions in the next 3 months. And you may even want to break that down into monthly actions to keep yourself accountable.
Yeah.
We've also, in PB Central, we've also got a recording around fixed fees and value pricing where some of the licensees had suggested how they did it as well. So that it could the move could be going to fixed pricing before you go into value as a step to understand, because there's a lot in, as Sharon mentioned, there's a lot involved in the value pricing. So find the way to work out what your fixed pricing could be.
Yeah, well, luckily Helen helped me out recently with a spreadsheet. I just haven't had a chance to revisit that.
Yeah.
So that was good, just to work out, I suppose, your hourly rate and how long it takes to do the bookkeeping, and then the gap. There's that 2% buffer, and yeah, so I'm just going to go and get that done. I suppose is just booking the time in my calendar.
That's the first step.
Yeah.
And that might be the first action, is finding your time in your calendar.
Yes.
To do the learning and the training, and look at the spreadsheet, and move forward that way as well. Jacqueline could possibly keep you accountable as you move forward. It'd be great to hear from Nicole around, like, in generally, because we're not having a lot of people jumping off and say, this is my resolution. So which means there's a blockage. People either are not confident about their resolution. So, and Nicole, this is probably right up your alley when you talk to people in the strategy sessions that people have onboarded. And there's a few people on the call that aren't licensees, that, where do you start in building the resolutions? Like, you could probably talk to where would they start in that game plan, in they might know where they want to go, but they need they just need the first step to get started.
Look, I also come from a management consultancy background, and when I was working in that role, one thing that was really drilled into us is, what's the smallest thing that you can do that's going to make the biggest change to your business? And I've always really taken that with me. So, if you can make a change that's going to increase your revenue by 10%, but it's going to take you a week to do it, or you can do something that's going to take 1 minute to do, but going to save you time and money in the future. Do the 1 minute job first, and really try and put your mind towards bite-sized pieces in a way. And I think to start with, to be able to actually do that, you almost need to, like what we said earlier, is put pen to paper and say, what are my pain points? What is holding me back? What is making me less efficient? What is not making my business go forward? And probably don't start with the big thing first. Make a list of all the things and slowly do the ones that are small changes that will make a difference. And then you'll find that when you get to the bigger changes or the bigger strategies that you need to make, you've cleaned up all the small stuff first, and you're in that mind frame. So you're like, what, this doesn't seem so big anymore. It seemed huge at the beginning of the process, but along the way, I've fixed this, I fixed this, I fixed that, I fixed this. The big end goal doesn't seem so big now. And even if it does seem big, like you guys said, bite-sized pieces. One of my favorite saying is, that there was a man in the Guinness Book of Records that ate a car. How did he do it? He did it bite-sized at a time, and I think that that's really important in life and in business, because it's really easy to get overwhelmed and think, oh, I've got so much. And, and then we all have days like that. I had that on Monday where I was just like, I'm just not going to get everything done. I completely feel overwhelmed. And you actually have to stop and go, right, I'm going to write a list. I'm going to prioritize my actions, and I'm going to tick them off slowly, because when you get into that overwhelmed, stress way of thinking, your brain doesn't function properly. It's a natural bodily function. You're not thinking clearly. You don't function properly. So what happens is it all becomes too much for you, and you don't end up doing anything. So yeah, my sort of advice to people is, really pick, what are your pain points? What's holding your business back, and list them and slowly work through them.
Yeah, that's great advice. Is there anybody else that would love to jump off the call, off mute, and talk about, what their goal is for their business, and perhaps what their resolutions are?
Actually, can I just say that, we're talking about like confidence and actually getting yourself out there. And obviously it's cumulative, right? Like if you start doing that, it starts getting, you start building that. Use this safe beautiful, connected environment like today as your first step to start building that confidence and getting off mute and actually talking. And I know, Suzanne, big hugs to you. And I understand that you're not wanting to come off mute at the moment, but anyone else that would like to come off mute and just to share something that, you know, maybe I've fantasized about adding an extra 100,000 or 50,000 or 20,000 to my business, maybe, and just share something as a first step. So even just talking in a group like this could be a first step towards that.
Yeah,
Just a thought.
yeah.
There's so many wonderful people within PBS that are there to help and encourage. Like, I would not have got where I am, which is still building slowly, without Robin's on the call. I adore Robin, and to look up to Debbie and Katrina and all of the others that are there without question, that will help you, that will assist. And I don't know where I want my business to be. And every time I listen to one of these calls, I realize how I have to get it down on paper. And even just doing my vision board, I looked at it after it had been up for about 6 months and realized, oh my stars, those things have come true. And it's just working with others and working with a supportive environment and setting your goals and breaking them down into little tiny pieces. It just makes so much sense. So
Exactly. What are your resolutions for this year? Have you got some plans for what you're going to work on this year?
Doing my business plan properly and getting to the next stage that I need to employ somebody.
Okay.
And you all know my why, and that's something that I don't think I haven't heard today. Know your why. And when you register what your why is, everything else will fall into place. And keep asking yourself why. Oh, I want to build a big business. Why? And bring some feeling into it, which will make it enact more.
Yeah, that's a great point. To bring you the resolutions that you are creating is around the business that you want to build and why you are building that business. So it's all interrelated, and that's why, you know, Melinda, right back to put it down on paper. It's why we do that, because it gets us thinking and talking and posing ideas and thinking about what we can achieve and talking with people as well. So, you know, Nicole is available if you're a non-licensee that you would like to jump on and have a chat to Nicole about what your resolutions might be for this year. Nicole, you might like to put up your meeting link into the chat, and we'll also put it over in the Facebook group. So if anybody's listening to this later, what are your resolutions for this year? Nicole will be able to chat to you about what you could start with, like what you know, just talking to somebody about what your business is, where you want to take it, what your goals are. Nicole, you're okay to, I've put you on the spot. You're okay to.
Absolutely. Look, it's what I thrive on. It's my passion. I love helping. I love all things business and I love helping people. But I also just want to just jump on the back of what Jacqueline said, that, you know, many years ago, I read somewhere that it's always good to have a plan. Even if that plan changes, at least you're looking forward to the future. So people get really disillusioned. They put a list of things or a plan that they're going to do, and they don't actually realize that plan itself is 50% of what you're trying to achieve, you know. And if that changes along the way, it doesn't matter, because you're thinking about it. It's okay that you come into the 3 months and maybe you haven't done what you've said you wanted to do, and your idea's taken another direction, but at least you're putting it down on paper. And I suppose one takeaway, you know, I want you all to take from this is that, you know, it might be a good idea that, you know, every month or every 3 months, you actually just put away half an hour and you go, that's my plan. That's where I look over my plan or re-look at my plan to see where you're going. One thing that Pure Bookkeeping does, which I love, is that, you know, every month, every quarter, we provide as a team our professional goals for the next month or the next quarter, and it's all shared, so we're accountable, and it's, you know, at every meeting that is what is done. And what I also like, which I've realized now, is that not only do we share our professional goals, we share our personal goals. So by even just doing that on a monthly basis with Katrina and Deb and the rest of the team is actually keeping me accountable to my personal goals as well. So, you know, maybe that's a bit of a takeaway from today's session, is that, you know, book in, whether it's, you know, and I know a lot of people are sole traders and they're on their own or whatever, but maybe it's book in a chat with a friend, you know, every 3 months for half an hour, just to talk about your professional goals and your personal goals, so you are keeping on track.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Get that accountability buddy.
Yes, we've got our accountability session. But I was just thinking about it. If you've got it on paper, you've written down exactly what you want and you can add to it or subtract. If it's in your head, it's like a game of Chinese whispers, because you don't remember exactly what you had. And every time you think about it, it goes differently. So you don't want to be playing Chinese whispers with yourself. Put it down on paper and share it to a friend, share it with the accountability group. And I know things that I've made progress with just the accountability group, and some of the others have made huge progress. Kim's doing brilliantly, Lisa's doing brilliantly. Just put it on paper and share it.
I love that. I love that analogy of Chinese whispers in your head.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sharon, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I think I just want to talk about the elephant in the room, and that is a lot of people don't even have an idea of what they want, or they don't know what their goals are. And most people I speak to, it's like, you know what, I just want a decent income, I want a holiday every year, and I want a good retirement fund. It's pretty much it. And then, so how do you get motivated to go, well, what are my goals? Nicole is the one, I tell you. And because I know that, because when I was having conversations with people, and now even with my clients, it's like, that's well, I don't know what I want. And then, you know, Nicole, you've had enough conversations to know that, like, how to start opening up that conversational thinking in your head around, okay, well, so if we start with the basis of, you know, 4 weeks holiday a year and a decent retirement package and enough money to put food on the table and maybe have a bit of fun every now and again, go out for dinner every so often. What's beyond that? And I reckon you're really good, Nicole. I mean, we've had lots of beautiful conversations, you and I, about, you know, dream building and things like that. And I think we've got to be self-aware enough to know that, I think what the holdback or the stop is with that is, if I put it out there, what if I don't achieve it? Or I'm going to feel like a goose, I'm going to feel like a failure. And that's just not true. It's like, this is the first step towards, you know, living a life that you jump out of bed for in the mornings and enjoy. I mean, Debbie Roberts is a great example. I mean, she, you know, before COVID, she was zipping off over to Europe at the busiest time of blooming bookkeepers ever. Like, it was at the end of financial, wasn't it? She was over in Europe most years. I'd see the pictures on Facebook. It's like, wow, that's pretty awesome. So, you know, there's no reason why every person on this call couldn't be having those sort of desires or dreams. It's just actually opening up that conversation and normalizing it through conversations with Nicole and, you know, other people that have perhaps got what you want or built what you want. So yeah, thanks for that. That's actually the topic of next week, is around fear of failure. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So we'll talk more about that as well. So yeah, so any last comments? Nicole, did you have any last comments before I finish up?
No, this has been great. I very rarely get on these on these webinars, and that's my goal. Is Katrina's very aware of it. My 12-month goal is to be more in front of the camera and try and sort of take the strategy sessions that I do on a one-on-one basis out to the bookkeeping world. So thanks for having me. It's been a really great experience, and I've really enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah, thanks for jumping on, and I appreciate it because you're very busy with all the calls and the work that you do. So yeah, thanks for that. It will be great. It's one of Nicole loves public speaking. It's like Sharon and I go forcing ourselves out of our comfort zone to do it, and Nicole walks into the business and I want to do public speaking.
Okay.
Set you up for that.
Go for it.
Not our game. Yeah, exactly, Melinda, go for it. All yours. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today and contributing. I think it was a really good, engaging conversation. I hope you got a lot out of it. It's there to be watched again in Facebook land. Thanks, Sharon and Nicole, for your guest speaking. Appreciate it, and have a wonderful afternoon, everybody.
Thank you.
See you all later.
Guys, be wonderful.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.